There's a lot going on in the world right now. There's a lot of newsworthy stories. We could look at the great scientific achievement of the Mars Perseverance landing. We can look at the situation in Myanmar. Young woman succumbed to her injuries there from police bullets, military bullets. We could look at the war in Tigray, which looks to be a very grim situation. So there's a lot going on, but for now I want to focus on a story from Catalonia, Spain, um, de facto Spain. If you're a Catalonian, obviously you won't see it as Spain, and I appreciate the sentiments there. But it's it raises some important questions about freedom of speech and limits of freedom of speech and how a democracy should deal with protest. I haven't followed the story closely, so I'm not going to pretend that I know all the ins and outs of it. But basically, there have been protests in Barcelona and elsewhere over the arrest of rapper Pablo Hasel. I'm just reading out here from the Times report, which is from the 19th of February. Um, so, a woman apparently has been blinded when police fired rubber bullets. Rubber bullets are not harmless. There's a long history of them causing serious injuries. Um, but like any of these situations in any society, there's going to be two sides of the debate. So there will be some that say this is a brutal suppression of free speech. Others will say, well, the protesters were violent. Certainly, there does appear to have been scenes of vandalism and so on. Um, but basically, this guy has been charged with glorifying terrorism and insulting the monarchy. Now, from a British perspective, I have to say, if there was a rapper who was glorifying the IRA or the real IRA in his or her lyrics, I think very few people would have sympathy with them because even today, 20 years after the Troubles, that still provokes strong emotions in the UK. So if this guy was kind of praising ETA, I can understand victims of ETA being very angry about that. What I'm less understanding of is, in terms of the authorities, is prosecuting him for insulting monarchy. Now, we're talking about Spain here, we're not talking about Thailand. Um, and I didn't realize that Spain's laws on that were so strict. Or if they're not, maybe this is something that needs to be reviewed because, according to this report, the reports by Isambard Wilkinson in Madrid, the government is preparing to ease restrictions on free speech. It said that in response to the Hazel case, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, it had expressed its willingness to provide a much more secure framework for freedom of expression. He supposedly called the former King of Spain, Juan Carlos, a mafia boss. Well, Spain's a democracy, so the head of state or the former head of state shouldn't be above critique, in theory. And it's a constitutional monarchy. So, what I want to know is Catalan Spanish perceptions of this. Um, Personally, it sounds to me like, if he's being prosecuted for that, I certainly would say that's problematic. Um, I mean, if someone in the UK, for example, made a song that was insulting the Queen and he or she was arrested for that, I think a few eyebrows would be raised. Now, Spain's a constitutional monarchy, um, so that does raise questions. I don't know what this guy's politics is. He certainly sounds well on the left. Like I say, it may well be that his lyrics are very insulting and hurtful to victims of terrorism. Um, and yeah, I do consider ETA a terrorist organization. You know, it's all very well saying one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, but when you mount up civilian casualties, in car bombings and so on, then you lose moral credibility as far as I'm concerned. So I've no sympathy with ETA apologists anymore than I have sympathy with IRA apologists. But is that enough to jail the guy? I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I am an outsider, so I just want to hear perspectives on this. And the report says that the 2015 law was enacted to prevent the glorification of banned armed groups such as ETA, the Basque terrorist group. The law also bans insulting religions or the monarchy. Um, Insulting religions or the monarchy? That sounds quite troubling. It definitely sounds like a blasphemy law. Uh, Spain obviously is quite a devout Catholic country, but I don't know what sort of percentage that is nowadays. Maybe Spanish Catholics are well in favour of this law, in which case I would say, well, do you want to be on par with Iran? You know, do you want to be a theocracy? Maybe you do. Um, but I do not think that theocracy can be compatible with liberal democracy. And you know, I have a good impression of Spain. I think it's for the most part a pretty progressive, forward-thinking country. But things like this, you know, it's definitely going to raise some question marks. Of course, Spain is a new democracy. It's only what, less than 40 years since the end of the Franco dictatorship, so over 40 years. Um, so context matters, but I want to hear perspectives on this from both sides. Um, that's my opinion, but I'm an outsider. Um, yeah, summed up, if he's glorifying ETA, you know, I've no sympathy for any criticism that he would get. But jailing him for that, um, I mean, the question would be, how would I feel about a British rapper glorifying the IRA? Being from Northern Ireland, it would piss me off. To put it bluntly, I would be very angry at their attitude. Would I support jailing them for it? I'm not sure about that. Let me know your thoughts. But certainly, if Spain is punishing people for criticizing the monarchy or criticizing religion, that's deeply alarming. And it is definitely not the hallmarks of a liberal democracy. So, you know, come on, Spain. You're not Thailand. This needs to be addressed. Let me know your perspectives.